In the age where the saying that there is always a bigger fish is more relevant than ever. Earlier this week, we saw a pretty big fish, Activision, a company that has been shrouded in controversy and allegations, being bought up by an even bigger fish. That fish being Microsoft, who has spent nearly $70 billion on the acquisition. What does this groundbreaking deal mean for us, and especially those on PlayStation? Let's have a look. Hello and welcome to the Echoverse Unlimited Show. This week we're going to be covering the Activision acquisition. There we go. That's the saying that I was going for, which has obviously been groundbreaking for the industry. Everyone has taken notice. If you'd said to me last year that Activision would have been bought, I would have said you're crazy. They're on the level of EA, who are now also being considered to be bought. There are rumors going around that people are starting to look at them, which is crazy to say. So, yeah, we're going to be analyzing what these acquisitions could mean and what they mean for us as gamers and also the companies on the other platforms, so PC and PlayStation. So, without further ado, let's go. So, we're going to be starting with what this means for us. And the first company who we're going to look at is Microsoft and how they're going to benefit with Xbox players. So I'm personally an Xbox player, and I think we are ultimately the winners of this deal. Xbox is going to be doing everything they can to get their 70 billion worth. So I think that means a lot of Activision's library will be coming to Game Pass, exclusive content for all future releases, even if the actual exclusives haven't been talked about yet. So at the moment, as far as what Microsoft have said, Call of Duty will still be coming to PlayStation, which I think makes sense because if you cut out Call of Duty's player base by half, it's not going to sell nearly as well without PlayStation. So keeping that on top of it is probably a good idea. But yeah, so Game Pass is just going to get better and better, which is already a great deal for £7.99 a month. You're going to get your whole Activision library, whole Bethesda library, and all of Microsoft's exclusives that are coming out this year. So if you haven't checked it out already and you're an Xbox player or even a PC player, which I'm going to mention later, then I highly recommend giving it a shot. Okay, now on to the losers in this deal, PlayStation. They're again the losers of this, just like in the Bethesda deal, in a company that we thought they would keep their games non-exclusive. Such as Starfield and the Elder Scrolls. Microsoft seems to have done a U-turn on those, and they're now exclusive to the Xbox platform. So we may see further down the line that big Activision IPs will be going only on Xbox and PC, which I think is a very real likelihood due to the transaction, costing £70 billion. However, hopefully they keep some of the biggest franchise like Call of Duty and stuff non-exclusive, so we can continue to play as cross-play gets bigger and stuff. So that's hopefully going to go. However, we do have to have a look at Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, two of the biggest mascots for PlayStation, are now owned by Microsoft, which I think is kind of ironic. But yeah, this isn't looking good for PlayStation. So whilst no announcements of exclusives, future content in Call of Duty may come straight to us. Maybe we get early access to it. More DLCs, more content that way, which would make sense because then the best way to play the newest Call of Duty will be on Xbox. So I can see them definitely doing that. But hopefully we'll just have to wait and see what happens with their other IPs and where the other money goes. Finally, PC. They also win with Microsoft becoming a lot more of a service with the Game Pass being their main focus. It would very much surprise me if all of the games coming to normal Game Pass don't also come to PC Game Pass. I think it's called All Access. I'm not sure. But yeah, I think that most of the games will be coming to that as well. So PC and Xbox, you guys are, well, us, we are smashing it right now with Bethesda and now Activision being bought up. What this means to the industry is it's becoming a bit of a monopoly between the two companies. So hopefully we can still keep some indie developers and some developers and publishers, maybe like Ubisoft, being free. Otherwise, it's just going to encourage Sony to splash a bit of cash to buy their own new corporations in the future. But looking specifically at Activision, I want to explore why this has happened. Because as I said in the intro, if you had said to me a year ago that Activision and Blizzard would have been bought up, I would have said you're absolutely mental. There's no way. So even though it's for 70 billion, something must have happened to bring this company down to sale. Let's have a look. So in this section, we're going to be looking at how Activision fell so far to allow them to be bought up for 70 billion dollars. I did that earlier in the last section as well. So yeah, it's dollars, not pounds. British brain activate. So let's have a look. We're going to start with the pretty obvious one, which was the surrounding allegations of sexual harassment that Activision and Blizzard have been hit with over the past year. If you've been online and are in the gaming community, you've probably heard of this with leading experts and industry leaders, such as the heads of Microsoft, which is interesting, and also Sony saying and condemning these allegations and saying it's been handled poorly, which it was. With over 2,000 of Activision and Blizzard's employees coming forward, penning a letter to their own management talking about the allegations, it was a pretty big story. And I even had people who I know aren't into games that much and in the industry asking me how I felt about it, what I knew about it, and talking about this games company that they've probably not heard of before. This probably destroyed a lot of investor confidence, and we all saw Activision's shares start to plummet a little bit. So it probably was a big reason behind them looking to have a fresh start, and that's probably best by selling, because this company, its reputation was in ruins, especially among other industry leaders. There was people pulling content and stuff from the shops relating to Activision, and Call of Duty was nowhere near as popular as usual, which could have been as a result of this. So that's one big thing. Another one is a lack of innovation on new releases, especially if we look at Call of Duty. The most recent one was performed awfully compared to other ones. Obviously, it was still a good seller because Call of Duty always is, but if you compare it to sales of the previous games and iterations, it did not do very well. It was increasingly difficult, especially in the last one, to spot any meaningful new changes. It felt very much the same as last year. Like, again, I always say this with Call of Duty, they release it every year and it's always substandard and pretty average, but people buy it every year, just like FIFA, because the name's on it, which is fine if you enjoy Call of Duty. But I do know quite a few people who saw the gameplay trailers and just decided that this year they're going to skip it. I think its name was Call of Duty Vanguard. It's not even that memorable, whereas I pretty much would have remembered the name of every Call of Duty before that. But yeah, so without any innovation, that leads to loss of income and a loss of, well, trust in the company, probably again with investors starting to worry a little bit about where their money is and whether they're going to lose out now. And the CEO didn't help himself. He never does, Bobby Kotick. We'll talk more about him later. But yeah, so Call of Duty Vanguard's lack of innovation, therefore leading to lack of sales, probably added to the need to sell. And then finally, we're going to look at a game from Blizzard. So we've looked at Call of Duty, which is obviously handled by Activision. And then Blizzard, their newest release is looking to be Overwatch 2. But the marketing and information we've got from this game is awful for selling a new game point of view. They've already said that they want the two games, Overwatch 1 and Overwatch 2, to coexist, which is great if you had content that Overwatch 2 PvP players would want to do. Because so far, the only content or reason to pick up Overwatch 2 would be for the PvE story bits, which I personally think is great. But if you're not into PvE or story games or anything like that, then you're probably not going to be that interested. And if it's all the same modes and maps as Overwatch 1, then there's very little point in you splashing out the $60 or pounds, wherever you're from, to get the new game. So I think the lack of material that they've released and the lack of reason to buy the new game, which is very rare for Activision Blizzard. Usually they, even if it's a small change, they market it as a whole new game that you really need to pick up, otherwise you'll really miss out. So for them to do that this time, it's a bit of an interesting way to do it, but I can imagine that they haven't had too many pre-orders, especially with the game being delayed a whole year. So the hype around it has started to die out, and Overwatch as a brand, I barely know anyone who still plays it due to, again, a lack of innovation on behalf of the company that runs it. No real new heroes have come out who've at least caught my eye. I'm sure there's still the hardcore fans who love Overwatch, but they're starting to dwindle and dwindle, and I barely hear from it now. So hopefully, when it does eventually release, they change their tactics a little bit and slowly, even if it releases as they say, slowly bring in a few more reasons to pick it up. I'm sure under Microsoft, that will be something that definitely happens. Okay, now we're going to go on to the future and what's likely to happen because of this merger. Are things going to change within the company? Most likely. What are those things? How are they going to affect us and our games? That's the crux of what we care about, I guess. So let's have a look. So let's have a look at the future of the company and where I think it will be headed. And we're going to start by looking at the CEO, Bobby Kotick. Now, he has recently been announced that along with the merger, once it is completed, he will be stepping down as CEO. And that is something that I can completely understand, and it makes perfect sense. He has been the figurehead for the controversy, especially around the sexual allegations and all of that. So he's pretty tarnished right now, especially his name, and he goes with the old Activision that has been in so much controversy this year. So it makes sense that Microsoft would be looking at that and saying, well, if we're going to reinvent this company, we need a new CEO, someone who can help guide this now damaged company back into the light. So they'll probably look for someone within the company to step up and take that role. Now, what I thought was interesting is they didn't do this with Bethesda. Pete Hines and Todd Howard still kept their positions, who are the leading figureheads for Bethesda that everyone knows and talks at conventions and stuff, much like Bobby Kotick. So this is clearly just them trying to clean house a little bit before they start their reinvention and to put even more money into this company. So I think it'll be very likely that we see quite a few leading figures disappear as new ones step up, with Microsoft overseeing that. So I'm sure he'll get a nice paycheck from that, but I think it's probably a little bit of justice for how the whole allegations was handled by him and Ubisoft. Not Ubisoft, sorry. Jesus, they're fine. Activision and Blizzard. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a complete structural overhaul for Activision, which hopefully will benefit the games that they create, and hopefully the employees of Activision and Blizzard feel that a bit of justice has been done, and they continue putting the love and talent that they have into the games that they're making. Next, I know that we've touched on this before, but I'm going to mention it again in Xbox exclusives. I think it would be very unlikely for them not to release some Xbox exclusives or make them, even if it's not old IPs like Call of Duty, but new IPs that we haven't had announced yet. In the next few years, I think there'll be definite games coming to just Xbox and PC from the company. And I mean, they are making 70 billion, or they are spending 70 billion. So you hope that's the case. And I'm sure the heads of Microsoft are definitely looking at ways of making that money worthwhile. So there we go. That's where I think the future of the company is headed, mostly with exclusives coming to Xbox, and structurally inside the company, I think there's going to be a lot of big changes. And we're going to see a whole new side of Activision and Blizzard that we haven't seen yet. And I'm very excited to see what they do with it in this next chapter. As an Xbox player, I couldn't be happier, but I can totally understand why certain PlayStation players may not take this very well. But you guys get all the good exclusives, so, you know. So, Activision, after being shrouded in a fog of controversy for the past year, has been brought up in the biggest deal the gaming industry has ever seen, and probably will see for a long time. Maybe. Microsoft has made it a trend now to buy up big companies and bring them into the fold. For first Bethesda, now Activision, does make you think who could be next. I don't think any company is safe. But yeah, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Echoverse Unlimited Show. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any comments on this recent transaction, whether you're worried about it or anything like that, please put it down in the comments. I'd love to have a conversation about this, see everyone's thoughts and points of view, especially if you play PlayStation. How are you feeling about it? And if you're on PC, does it really affect you? Do you care? Let's start a conversation. But yeah, next week's episode will be announced on Wednesday, as per usual. And obviously, it's been a different sort of setup this time because I'm seeing family. So next week's will be back to normal. But I couldn't resist covering this. I mean, it's pretty groundbreaking news. I hope you have a great start to your week, and I will see you on the next stream or video that I catch you on. Stay noisy. Goodbye.